Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. This video is my first look at Master Volk's Wrath, the new trial in the Agito Uprising. This is our first Master difficulty content in the Agito Uprising, and with it comes some new Tier 2 6-star weapons, as well as some new levels on the Flame Tree facility that you can obtain by playing Volk's Wrath on Standard or Expert difficulty as well. I'm really excited to check this out today, and this video is going to be a little bit different than videos I've done of my first clears in the past, because we're actually going to walk through all of my failed attempts before I finally got that first clear, and hopefully use that as kind of a teaching tool so that not only can I learn from the mistakes that I was making, but hopefully some of you can learn just by watching this what things tended to go wrong, how we were able to recover, and then how we ultimately ended up getting my first clear. So I do have the good fortune here of running with players who I know. We are in a voice chat, so this wasn't done in public lobbies, and I have heard that's a little bit more difficult. Usually when fights first come out, they do tend to be more difficult, but there's good players out there as well. So I'm doing this with people on Discord, and one of the reasons for that was I wanted to try do it with my Mikoto. Mikoto, obviously not being the strongest unit here, hasn't gotten a mana spiral, but luckily I'm surrounded by Halloween Lowen, there's Nobunaga there, and Marth, all of whom are pretty powerful. Right now it seems like maybe Nobunaga is bugged, she's doing a little bit less damage when she dispels her Burning Ambition, but otherwise all of them are pretty powerful. And here you'll see why our very first run failed. I iframed that screen-wide move, and you really don't want to do that because by doing that, you won't get Plague on your character. And one of the key mechanics to this trial on Master difficulty is that you need to have Plague on your character when Volk goes for a lifesteal, otherwise he heals up a ton of HP. So even though I was able to survive there, obviously that Tornado didn't go well, that Squall, and also Volk had already healed a lot, so we went for a reset to try again. And ultimately, that's the kind of thing that is so much easier to do now with the retry feature, which I appreciate. It's not as easy to do in public groups, but maybe with Alliance members or in a Discord-like environment, it is super convenient to have access to that. So now, attempt 2, I'm going to try not use a skill to iframe during that screen-wide attack anymore because I want to have Plague up. You can also Dragon to avoid things like that, but I don't think it's good to waste your first Dragon just to try to tank that. It's much better to just have Plague on you to prevent Volk from healing. And I'm also adjusting here to the fact that rolls have iframes, which still feels kind of weird. Have to get used to that. I'm tending to cast my skills to iframe even when I don't necessarily need to. So that's been kind of interesting to learn and practice as well. You can see for this particular part where there's 4 squalls or 4 tornadoes that go out across the map, I wanted to be in the bottom left corner, but the top right also works. Those 2 corners always have an orb that causes stun or a trap that causes stun, and the opposite corners have a trap that causes sleep. So with Mikoto having stun res, that's where I wanted to be, so I tried to go down there. And I also, you may notice, I'm sometimes forgetting to cast my skills, particularly my 4th skill. I noticed it's kind of hard to pay attention to, not having been used to it before, and also that tends to be where I top the screen, so I often don't see when that skill is full, so that's one thing I have to get better at. Here is Overwhelming Hunger, and I think to myself, okay, I'm not going to iframe. I didn't iframe. Luckily, I didn't iframe, but unfortunately, because I already had Plague, that move caused poison. And so because of that, ultimately I ended up dying. I had poison on me, didn't go super well, couldn't heal up in time for the screen-wide life drain AoE. So that was a learning lesson for me that if you already have Plague, then you do want to actually iframe there, but hopefully you don't have Plague at that point. But, you know, things happen, you may get hit by something. So, lesson learned, then we moved on to the next attempt. And trying to just use my skills on cooldown as much as possible. It's so hard to adjust, though. It's funny. You're so used to playing in a certain way that having access to these roll iframes is taking some time to get used to, for sure. And I think that there's actually more punishment in some ways now on iframing with skills, because there can be ending lag. For instance, my 3rd skill there, at the very end, you kind of stand still, you're stuck for a little bit. So I have to really adjust and figure it out, but I'm not going to be able to do all of that in this video. Instead, I just Force Strike out here. I waited for the plague to dissipate, because if I would have stepped on that trap beforehand, I would have gotten stunned anyway, and I really didn't want that to happen. Once again, not seeing that I have my 4th skill active, otherwise I should have totally cast that on cooldown. And also being a little bit cautious with my iframes, more than necessary here for sure, just because that is how I'm used to playing. I still have not seen my 4th skill, which is pretty sad, but I don't know, I just couldn't see it with my hand being placed there. And this is the first time that I got one of these 2 squalls. I wasn't sure it was on me at first, but I was able to Force Strike out to the wall and thankfully not accidentally destroy anyone or wreck anyone with it. There, I had realized I had my 4th skill, so I used it, but didn't want to use it to iframe, so waited a little bit. And we're able to prevent any healing via the Steel Vitality there, because we all had the Plague. And now we get 4 Snapping Squalls, and this was kind of hard to learn. We had kind of decided that we would go to different quadrants of the map, and I was supposed to go north, and that's kind of where I thought north was. It turns out it's a little bit to the right of that, and so I was placed too close to my teammate Lowen there. I think, honestly, looking back on this, maybe the easiest way to coordinate that part if you get 4 tornadoes is actually to try go to wherever orb you popped during the phase where there's the 4-way gales that go out from the center. That might be a lot easier to coordinate, especially if you're in pubs, and like for that 4-way gale phase, you could use the diagonal arrows in terms of stickers to try to decide which quadrant you want to go to. But we had kind of decided that I was going to try go into that rough area, so then I just had to spend a few times getting that positioning down just right and not accidentally taking someone out. The thing is, you can sort of technically recover. Like if you get hit and knocked down from that, you're not totally dead. You will be incapacitated for a while, slept or stunned, but it's possible to recover. It's just not super easy, and if you bring the tornado into the middle of the stage, then things can get really bad. One of the challenges here is, well, there I got hit. That was not good. I couldn't decide whether to Force Strike out or roll, and got caught up. But one of the challenges here with this many melee units is not necessarily having it obvious who is going to get the squalls. So both Nobunaga and I need to be prepared to run away and deal with them if we end up getting them on us. Now I'm going to Force Strike in, and I know on one of these attempts I totally Force Striked into one of those tornadoes, but luckily it wasn't that attempt. And I rolled through there, again, just not seeing that 4th skill. That's really going to take some adjustment from me. But this move where Volk does a swipe, that is in the expert difficulty, but depending on your DPS speed, you may not have always seen it. That move can be iframes normally, and it can be iframed with rolls. Here, I didn't think I had the Gale, but then I realized I had the Gale, and then I ended up going clockwise, or counterclockwise instead of clockwise, and ended up killing Lowen. Not my finest moment. We knew we wanted to go clockwise, and I just realized that the Gale was on me too late when I Force Striked out and kind of panicked and went to the left along the wall instead of going to the right. Even if you do that, you can recover though. So if you hug the wall and walk very slowly, your tornado will move slowly as well, the squall that's following you. So I think eventually I'm going to be able to correct that, but that phase does require a good amount of coordination. Let's see what happens on this run. So all sorts of things are bound to go awry here. We haven't gotten to some of the harder sections of the fight, like Resentment or the Blood Moons, which are really killer in this. They heal themselves, they heal Volk, I think. At the least, they heal themselves. I think they drain HP as well, but you have a really high DPS check on those in order to destroy them because they're constantly regenning health. Alright, so I go to my quadrant. Is this the time that I'm going to Force Strike into a tornado here? Looks like it. Yeah, again, nobody saw that. It's cool. Hopefully nobody saw on my team, but yeah, that was not good. I have Plague now, and took that tornado. Obviously not a good strategy at all. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I just got greedy, and as has been said, greed tends to kill run, so if you're going for consistent clears and farming, that often is one of the things that leads you to fail. Again, I don't know why I just instinctively went that way, but luckily I kind of hugged the wall a little bit more and didn't get punished as hard, didn't accidentally kill Lowen. But that's really one where I should have gone down instead. I think my reaction time is just a little too slow to realizing the squall was on me and not being on the wall. Then I ended up walking up instead of down because there's sort of a little hook on that side of the arena. Now I get my squall, and I try position in what now I believe to be north, but by the time I get there and kind of position, I'm standing in the middle of the purple. So mess that up. The extent to which I can avoid these, I hope I can, but honestly, I don't think it's that bad. I think it's just me kind of scrubbing out here and having some trouble, which isn't unusual for me. And the fact that they can 1 or 2 shot you, I wouldn't say it's easy either, and particularly the coordination problem, I think, will be hard in public lobbies. However, the fact that this happens relatively early in the fight is a good thing, because people will actually learn the system. In Expert Volk, I would very rarely see the 4 snapping squalls come out, and it really usually meant your DPS was too low. And so now that this actually happens often, I think people are going to have to adapt and learn to coordinate around this. Let's see how things go here. So that was not good. I tried to kind of roll out of the way, but was still in the perimeter. I realized that that swipe has a pretty big radius, a hit radius as well. So that's one you'll want to be careful of. I go back down to my little corner here, hoping not to make the same mistake that I did last time, and try be patient. I did not see my 4th skill, I guess. I don't know if I'm going to become aware of this 4th skill, but man, that's obviously weakness in my play when I watch this back, is just hanging on to these for so long. Having said that, it is pretty fun to actually see gameplay like this and check it out, and I often present the polished or final result, or at least as polished as I can get it, and so I think it's important to realize that behind every clear vid are like 10 of these failed runs or more, depending on what you're trying to do. So there I was happy Nobunaga got the squalls, honestly a relief for me because I feel like I'm not that good with those. And for Steel Vitality, everybody had Plague, which is great. Now we are looking pretty good, but we get to this point where there's 4 of these. And unfortunately, I tried to run to my position, but somebody else was there. Luckily, I survived, and we all survived. And so we were able to continue here. And I don't know if this will end up being the successful run. It doesn't look like it's going to be good right now because I'm getting hit by stuff. The wolves seem to be more of a threat or menace than they are in experts. I don't know if it's the fact that there's more of them or just that they deal more damage or something like that, but they do seem to be more of a threat. But this is the first time I've got into this resentment phase, and I had watched one clear video before this, so I knew some orbs were going to spawn here. I didn't really know too much about the order, although my friends, to their credit, did try to explain it to me, but at this point in the fight, this is kind of adrenaline territory. I was not thinking straight about what was going on down there with those. Luckily, did not get slept there, but you can see that's an example of me using my skill to iframe and then getting punished with the red that spawned afterward. But that would have been a good case to probably try roll. And yeah, just terrible. Walked into the green. I don't know. I thought that maybe it was going to be another red, but they had probably told me that it wasn't. So I didn't really get to contribute to our break DPS, which isn't great, but everybody is still alive here, and that is a good thing. And I really want to stay alive because I want to try help our team with Arctos when we get to the Blood Moon phase. Now I notice that there's a lot of red AoEs happening, and I think there's 3 or 4 of these red dashes here. I think it might be 4. Let's take a look. Is there one after this? Yes, there is. You can roll through those, and you can try to bait them into the wall in order to make the movement as minimal as possible. But now we get another Snapping Squalls. It's on me this time. Nobunaga, you can see, kind of reacted just in case it was on her, but it was on me, and we're able to survive through it, which is good. It would have been a shame for the end to run there. We've got Volk below half health, but anything can happen. If we mess up one of the lifesteals here, this fight could change in a hurry, and I've seen it to where Volk heals like almost back up to full. And now Blood Moon begins. I become Arctos, do my drop kick, and what happens? But Volk actually resists it. So I didn't actually get to utilize stun whatsoever. Luckily, our team DPS is solid enough that we were able to deal damage through and counteract the healing effects of the Blood Moon. Also didn't think this was going to happen here, but I'm glad that I was able to react in time and wasn't in the middle of a skill. And there, was not expecting a dash, particularly toward me, but I had an iframe up. If I hadn't have had that iframe up, I could have rolled, had I remembered to do something like that, of course. Now I'm trying to determine whether that's on me or not. I could not really make a determination, but it doesn't seem like it was. And fortunately, somehow, despite it looking like it spawned in the middle, nobody died, so that was good. We did an iframe there, which is good. It means Steel Vitality, not going to be able to heal Volk. And also, Marth got to low HP for, I think, the second time in this fight, meaning we're able to unleash a lot of damage. I should have used my buff before the damage dealing skills, of course. But again, that's going to be one thing I have to work on improving. I used my Ravenous Fire. I feel like we're in good shape here, but this resentment phase I know even less about than the first one. I know he's going to try to do a Blood Moon, and I know there's going to be some orbs or traps that spawn, but I don't know if I'm supposed to deal with those or how that works. Basically, all I know is if I see a Blood Moon, I should try Arctos it, so that's what I tried to do. It didn't stun again, so we didn't really get off any stun in this match. I don't know if the resistance has changed on Master Volk or if I just got unlucky with that. There, got hit by some of the red AoEs, but luckily I am not afflicted because that would be really bad. I would probably end up dying in this type of situation. There's just so many markers, but this is where the rolling honestly comes in handy, and somehow I had Plague on me, which helped prevent some of the Steel Vitality, even though my HP got really low. And now I think we're looking in really good shape to clear. I guess this is going to be the one. I use all my skills as much as possible. I see I have Arctos available, and you know we're going in for that drop kick. Looks like we finally got our stun, and yeah, then we got the clear. So that is a narration of my experience with Master Volk. You can see all of the mistakes that I made, the learning process. Obviously, I was with people who were patient enough to run with me and had cleared the fight before, which isn't a luxury everyone has. Although I do encourage you, if this is a trial you want to attempt, to check out communities like this channel's Discord or others, and hopefully you can find players who will run with you. I have heard good things about public lobbies on this, but I do think there's an expectation that you come with a maxed out character, that you sort of bring your best foot forward, and things less than that may have a harder time finding rooms. But I'll go ahead and show off the team here. We had Halloween Lowen, seems good for this. We had Marth, and you can see the shared skills are showing up on there now. Marth with Mars is just so strong. Let's take a look at Lowen's gear as well, since I didn't show that. Yeah, Lowen had Popstar Siren. That's a dragon I want to pick up. And then Nobunaga. Interesting Nobunaga build here with Dread King Rathalos. With the 4 striking she does to clear Dispels. I can kind of see the merit of it, although her Dispel damage isn't based on her 4 strike. And yeah, let's go ahead and put on our Gale Shroud Smasher, the new epithet. I realize, yeah, I forgot to accept it, so that's what happened, so I'm going to go back to accept it. But anyway, y'all, I'd be very curious to hear what your thoughts are on Master Volk so far. I have a feeling I'm going to fail this a lot more in the future because of the squalls that happen. That's going to take some time to learn and adjust to. It feels less punishing than the Master High Dragons because it doesn't necessarily one-shot you, but it is a skill check mechanic and it's kind of a coordination check. So I'm curious to see what that will play out like in public lobbies in particular. I'm going to do some exploration with that, check it out, and let you know my findings. I'll try perhaps make a Master Volk guide at some point if I'm able to get a little better at this trial. But that is really going to do it for today, everyone. So thank you as always for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.